Hi, my name's Penny and I'm here to talk to you about photographing invertebrates. This is for the Mission Invertebrate project run by Royal Parks, who are there to protect and to help us understand more about insects. I've been photographing insects for about 13 years. I just love them. See them flying around, and I decided I wanted to see what they look like close up, and believe me, they're beautiful. So I decided to deck out my front garden, the pollinator pot garden, with insect-friendly plants, so it makes it a lot easier. I can just come down the stairs, come out on a sunny day like today, and look and photograph to see what we have. So I've planted some things up. We've got herbs, which is always really good, mint, lemon balm. We've got red campion, euphorbia, lavender, which insects absolutely love, and wallflowers, scabious, but anything that is colourful. So obviously the neighbours are going to like it as well when they walk past. But also, it's almost like a little bar, a little restaurant for insects. They can come in, they can feed, and they can go off up the street. So the camera I use is a DSLR. I happen to have a Canon EOS 550D, and I've got a 50mm macro lens, which I find quite useful. It's quite light. A lot of people tend to use a 100mm macro lens, which means that you can have to stand further back. The 100mm macro lens is very good for dragonflies, butterflies and things like that. My camera is probably better for bees. I can get up closer. If you do want to go for the big butterflies and dragonflies, I found this little tiny point and shoot camera to be really good. It's got a great zoom on it, and you can get quite close to butterflies and to dragonflies. Or you can use a smartphone, and I guess you need to look at your settings to see whether you can what you can do with it. Obviously zoom and things like that. Probably doesn't have the same detail that you'd have on a DSLR, but it's worth it, especially for your butterflies, which are probably one of the easiest insects to photograph. Right, so we're looking for insects. So insects are everywhere. They're on a day like this, which is nice and sunny, they'll be flying around, so you'll see bees and you'll see flies. But also you'll find things that are under leaves. So you do need to basically just look. And don't forget, they're going to be, sometimes they're going to be really, really small. So just tentatively go through here, just around there. Keep looking out for the ones that are flying, because if there's something that's flying, it's going to land somewhere, hopefully, and then you can creep up on it. So open flowers are always good. Anything with a daisy is always going to be good, because your bee that will land on that will spend time collecting pollen, which gives you enough time to photograph the insect. So around here we're having a look. Pots is really good. If we look under pots, especially with a pot garden like this, you can usually find large amounts of wood lice and ants, which is always good. There are nutrient recyclers. Be careful not to squash them when you put them back. Now you can see here there's plenty of little things flying around. We've got a fly here, and there's a little tiny bee going into this little flower here. So I'm going to go in with my camera. Now my camera is on continuous shutter speed. Can you hear that? Which means it's going to capture, because these things are fast and they're going to move quickly. So I go in there and everything's on automatic. So I just need to go in and making sure the sensor in the middle of the lens is at the center, so you can get a clear shot. So there we are, we've got a little bee there. I'm keeping an eye on the bee. I'm continuously photographing it on automatic with the shutter speed. Now hopefully that will be in focus. We've got a fly. Now don't forget, these insects have all got compound eyes, which means that they're going to fly off. And when you've got a day like today where there's sun, you might get the shadow in the way. So I'm going to lean in, I'm going to focus, oh, and it's flown off. Typical. There are going to be a lot of insects which are easy to photograph, and I would put the shield bugs, moths, bugs, basically things that don't move very fast are going to be the easiest things to photograph. The most difficult are going to be your flies and your bees because they're fast. And on a day like today with bright sunshine, they're going to be really fast. Some of the best days to photograph insects is when it's slightly cloudy, so sort of bright, with a light cloud cover, because what happens then, when it's not bright sunshine or a cloud goes over, you'll find a lot of your bees will land on a leaf long enough for you to zoom in and go click, 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 click. Perfect. Butterflies, again, are going to be quite easy to photograph because at a day like today, they will open their wings, which is the shots that you want. Dragonflies are good because they will keep landing back on the same perch. So if you disturb it, it will come back, land on the same perch, which makes it easier for you to take a picture. Now there's going to be a lot of insects that you can't really see, like little tiny carpet beetles that have a tendency to live on flowers like this, which is why a DSLR camera is going to be the best with a macro lens on it. So I'm just going to go in with this bee here. So basically, I'm getting a chance to have loads of shots of this because it's so concentrating on running around that flower head that I'm likely to get a decent picture in shot. So we did ask anybody on Twitter whether they wanted to submit a photograph or a question about photographing insects, and Simon from Slough sent me a picture of a poplar hawk moth he took last year with his camera phone, slightly out of focus, and it was quite dark. So my advice to Simon is the good thing about resting moths is you've got plenty of time to photograph them, especially during the day because they're not going to move. And they're quite big, which is quite handy. So the best thing to do is to go up close to it and try out different camera settings. So you can have it on a flash, or you can take it from further away, try different angles. So that's what I would say, that when you find an insect that isn't going anywhere, is to take lots of photographs from different angles. So that's my advice, and to keep looking at your camera to see whether you want to make it darker or lighter. That's my advice. Thank you, Simon. I mean, the one thing that's really good is when you're going out to photograph insects is to actually watch their behaviour, especially if you're doing a patch like this garden. It means that I can come out every day, and it means that I'm going to guarantee that there's going to be bees coming in every day, and if I don't get the shot I want, I can come out tomorrow and can guarantee the bee will be back again. So watch their behaviour, because they might come back to this, and the flowers that we have open, you'll guarantee they'll come back at some point for them. I mean, looking for things like celery leaf flies on the lovage, you'll find things like that. You'll find little wasps on here. The idea is, if you can, is to photograph everything that moves, because every insect we have is going to be important. Not only your bees and flies and your fancy butterflies and your dragonflies, but actually ants and aphids. So you've taken the photograph of your insect, and the next question is like, what is it? This was the best part of when I first started taking pictures of insects, is like finding out what I've actually taken a picture of. Now, all those years ago, I uploaded all my photographs to Flickr. Where you'd find that loads of people came in going, oh, that's a hoverfly, or that's some long Latin name, which I still can't pronounce half the time, but at least I got to know what I was photographing, and that kept my interest going, because then I would research hoverflies, or I'd research bees and realise there'd be loads of bees, loads of different hoverflies, which enabled me to go out looking for more. We can still do that. The social media platforms are great. We have Flickr, we have Instagram, and then loads of groups on Facebook, sort of hoverfly groups, moth groups. Every insect out there has a group, so you can always find out what insect you have, and you can learn more from the people who are in those groups. So from April the 24th to April the 27th is the City Nature Challenge. So I would encourage you to get out into the garden, or if you can get round to your local park, have a look in your local park, or even look at the flowers on your balcony or your window boxes and photograph as many insects as you can find, whether it's flies, bees, snails, slugs, bugs, beetles, dragonflies, butterflies, the lot. We want to know absolutely everything that you can find in your garden. You upload it onto iNaturalist, and then at least we'll then know what's around, because insects are so important, and as everyone knows, we're losing them at an alarming rate. So we need to chart where they are. And being out in your garden, buying a pot of lavender, buying some herbs, wherever, is all going to help us bring our insects into our city. And what's good about iNaturalist is that they'll collect the data of what you found, which is what the most important thing is that we need to know what is where. And how you can do that, especially in this time of isolation, is to get out into your garden. I have my front garden here, and just go out and look and see what you can find, and it can be absolutely anything, because it will actually be your exploring as well. So you might find something you think, what's that? Put it onto iNaturalist, and then you'll see someone will come back and tell you what it is, and hopefully either you'll see it again or you'll find more. So I've just found something on Miscabius, so I'm going to carefully just take this flower, because it went, I noticed it going up the stalk. Oh, look at that. So I've found what is a rope-lid bug. How marvellous is that? So you can see I'm holding this flower so I can get a good angle of it. But it's about that, you see. It's about looking in your flowers even when you're deadheading and something crawls up the stem, you're like, oh, what's that? Yeah, look. Oh, it's just gone there. You can't see it. It's flown away. There we are, rope-lid bug. And that makes a nice photo.